Today's episode is another one in the Mindset series. We love filming these. I've got my tag team partner, Mandy McAllister, on this. And today we're talking about persistence and how important persistence is, in our opinion, right? In terms of trying to get to your goals, right? It's not always getting there at 100 miles per hour in the shortest amount of time. It's having that persistence to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I think that's a skill that can be taught and learned, and you can teach yourself to have persistence. So as always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE Podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a review if you think it's worthy. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. If you're interested in real estate, whatever capacity that is, I'd love to get to know you, see if there's any way I can help you. There's going to be a link in the description down below, or you can go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there. But before all of that, enjoy today's great episode about persistence. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multi-family real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now we have Mandy McAllister with us today.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
So good. Living the dream, Bear. Thanks for having me.
How tired are you hearing my introduction at this point?
No, I choke slam with you.
Oh, okay.
What I wish people could see is me trying to make you laugh on the background.
I'll have to do a double screen at that point so that everyone can see you do that. Cool. Well, this is another one in the Mindset series that, we've been doing quite a few now, and we love this stuff, and it's so much fun. And we talked about earlier that we hope people get value from it, but more than anything, we get a lot of value from it ourselves, right? We really enjoyed it. I feel like we learn as we do it, or we're reminded about stuff. When you talk about stuff, right, you're sometimes reminded about stuff that you kind of forgot sometimes, and that's kind of not always, and it's always nice to have that reminder, even though deep down we kind of know it. So we really enjoy it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Today we're going to be talking about persistence. And this is something that's so important, I think, to any aspect of life, right? And definitely real estate investing. I think this definitely really applies to real estate investing, but any aspect of your life. If you have that persistence, I think you're always going to get there. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Or how do you feel about it?
Totally agree. I mean, I feel like anything I've ever figured out, it's just a function of that I'm going to completely refuse to believe that I can't figure it out, and that's just a function of just continuing to try. It's like the light bulb, that it's not that I failed 1,000 times, it's that I found 1,000 ways that wouldn't work, So whatever you're doing, is there a little pivot so that you can continue to persevere and persist in what it is that you're doing? It's a lot like that book, Grit by Angela Duckworth. Have you read that? That's a really good one.
No.
But through this social science experiment stuff, she found that the people who had the most success were the people who had grit, that had this unwillingness to quit, who had this persistence and perseverance. So I feel like that makes success in just about any aspect of life. And, I can attest that the stuff I've pulled off is due to the unwillingness to quit. So, what about you? What is persistence?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I think you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the quickest, you don't have to be the strongest, whatever. If you have that persistence, you may not get to somewhere as quick as everyone else, right? But eventually you'll get there. And I think I've realized that with myself, right? I don't always get there as fast as other people, whatever it is, right? But, with like real estate investing, right, I have that persistence. I've seen other people come and go and get there quicker to their goals and all that stuff. But I'm still here, I'm still working, and I'm still pushing ahead. And I think if nothing else, I will never claim to have much else except I know I have a slow persistence, right? It's just a constant chugging along, and you just chug along and you just move and keep moving forward and keep going towards those goals. And eventually you'll kind of get there and keep moving past that and keep going. And I think a persistence is a skill that, yes, it comes from motivation and, maybe, background and all that stuff, but it's something you can, as long as you keep going towards your goals, whatever that is. And as long as you keep taking action, and as long as you keep wanting more, I think you'll eventually get there, I think. And I think persistence is a skill that you can teach yourself to some extent, I think.
That was going to be my next point, that you're calling it a skill, and I think it is a skill, but it's kind of a decision that you make every single day, you know, and it's just the decision that, you know, I want to quit. It would be easier to quit, but I'm not going to. And I think that in this multifamily world that you and I both play in, I underwrote north of 250 deals. Like, I ran the numbers on more than 250 deals before I found one that was a larger multifamily that we took down. So, you know, there's a book called Atomic Habits that had this really great quote that, you know, when you're doing anything exponential, the progress is slow until it's not, right? Yeah. So this idea of that my progress isn't what I want it to be when you're doing something that has an exponential payoff, like investing, like learning, like whatever. It's the quote, or that I'm going to totally botch. It's like an ice cube complaining that it's melted from 15 degrees to 31 degrees. Well, it hasn't done anything, right? Because it's still freezing. Yeah. All of the magic happens when you hit 32 degrees. So if you can kind of actionable tip, yeah. Keep your eye on, you know, whatever small steps you have made. You know, it might not feel like much, but if you're doubling what you're doing, you will notice a difference, and you're rewarding yourself, like we talked about last time. It's happiness is growth. Progress is happiness. If you can just keep your mind on the stuff that has gone right, the steps that you have taken, then, you know, that persistence will be easier to maintain, and you'll have the staying power to really have that exponential growth that we talked about. So you don't get that unless you persist.
And I think also, as you touched on that, you don't realize how far you've come sometimes, right? You really don't realize how far you've grown as a person, as a real estate investor, as everything, as a human being, because you're in it every day, right? You don't realize. If you were to look back and realize how much you've learned in the past year, right? Personally, me, the same, right? If I look back in a year ago, what my knowledge was and where I was in terms of taking action, or maybe not necessarily taking action, but what my goals were and what I felt comfortable doing, completely different. Way different. And maybe if I think about it, I don't feel like I'm that much further ahead, right, than I was a year ago. But wow, I really am when I think about it. The education and the learning and the experiences that I have had, excuse me, the experiences that I've had have kind of contributed to that. And it'd be easy to maybe say, well, I'm not there yet. I've been working on this for a few years. I haven't reached my goals, but you know, that's not the point. You've just got to keep going. You've got to realize that if you just keep going and keep going and keep going, even if it doesn't, if you set yourself a timeline of 5 years, right? Well, if it takes 10 years, what does it really matter, right? You still got there eventually. It's having that persistence to be willing to go and keep going and keep going and keep going. I think it's such a powerful thing and a skill that you can definitely teach yourself and create for yourself.
Totally agree. And I think on that note, if you are a journaler, which I'm not great about, but it's something I know a lot of people in our space who are curious about this sort of stuff do, you know, if you're feeling like you haven't achieved a lot and you want to, you know, kind of redouble your efforts in terms of this persistence, looking at where you were a year ago can be very helpful. You know, sometimes your Facebook timeline can help you figure that out, you know, so look back in some way. And I think also there's, you know, a great classic book called 3 Feet from Gold that, you know, if you stop digging now, you get nothing, even if you're 3 feet from that goal. So just you got to figure out how to keep your head on and just keep making that decision.
Yeah, that's great. And I think what helps as well is if you surround yourself with the right people as well, right? So that's a whole different topic in itself. But if you're surrounded by people that are motivated, that are moving forward, that have that right mindset, that are trying to achieve stuff, right? even if you're having days or months or even, you know, a few months where you think that you want to give up, being surrounded by these people are going to drag you along, right? Because you see their success, you see what they're doing, and that's going to help you as well. So I think that's something else that we can all do, right? Surround ourselves with better people. That's why I do this, just so I can surround myself with Mandy McAllister, who's so much better than me. So
no, I completely agree with you. You know that it's
you're better than me. Yes, I know. Yeah.
no,
No, I'm joking.
no, that
I'm
you
joking.
have to see it so you can be it. You know, and it's, you know, in terms of keeping that focus, it's, if you don't see other people doing it, then, you know, it doesn't seem possible. It's the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile thing.
Mm-hmm.
So completely agree.
I love that story, by the way. For people who don't know, explain that story quickly before we
Yeah.
go.
So I forget what year, but everyone was trying to run a mile in under 4 minutes, and no one could do it, right? And this medical student, Roger Bannister, decided to break it down into little pieces, and he ended up running a 4-minute mile. He was the very first person to do it. But as soon that I think the most like instructive thing here is the minute Roger Bannister did it, like a dozen other people did it.
Yeah.
Right? Because they saw that it could happen. So it's, you know, if you're dredging into uncharted territory in the world that you live in, I think you need to ask yourself the question, number one, is this something that really no one else has ever done? And if that's the case, then you have to be Roger Bannister and come up with this new idea, new ways of going about things to make something brand new happen. But my guess would be that you are trying to do something that has been done before. So just like Barri said, that if you can surround yourself with people that are doing it and look at them as the shining example, then you're going to be able to do it much more quickly because you see it can happen and you can learn from what they learn from.
Wow, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. Go back and listen to that again. That was so brilliant. No, that was brilliant. That was really brilliant. So cool. Well, thank you, Mandy. Where can people find out more about you? Because I know everybody does.
Thank you, Bear. Best place to find me is mandymcallister.com. I keep all my stuff there.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you so much. Another awesome one. Go out there and be persistent, if nothing else, guys.